Hey everybody, my name is Donovan, but you can call me Don, and this is my dad.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dean, and welcome to Talkin Hoops. So anyways, this is our episode 6. This is going to be episode 6 for us. Last episode, I got to put a disclaimer out here real quick before we get into... Today we're going to be doing our top 5 power forwards, modern day power forwards. I want to put a disclaimer out there. Last video we did our top 5 small forwards, and sadly, I forgot to put in Kevin Durant in my top 5 of my small forwards. And during the video, I talked about how I kind of totally forgot about him in a sense because he didn't play all season. So I kind of wasn't really thinking about him, which is stupid on my part because he for sure would have been in the top 5 there in our small forwards. But he can come into another forward position. So we'll get more into that a little bit later as we get started with our top 5 power forwards. It was kind of tough because there's a lot of pretty good players out there at the power forward position, and I think the hardest part about the forward position in general is that, and even with the center, kind of the height of the guys don't really matter so much anymore.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of the guys are way more athletic and can do more things. So it's very difficult to kind of put them in a specific position because a lot of the guys can actually play multiple positions, which is kind of difficult to do. So like there's some guys that I left out. One of them I think that could easily make some people's list, and I'm not going into the 5 yet, but one of the ones I think that could have made people's list is Pascal Siakam.
Oh yeah, I had him as one of my guys. He's not on my list either.
Yeah, and it's tough not to give somebody like that a lot of credit because, especially last year and the year before I think was that 2018. He started really coming on strong. Coming into the 2018-2019 is where he started to shine and like really do a lot of work. And then I gotta put in arguments for him because what he's doing right now for the Toronto Raptors. I think everybody when he left when Kawhi Leonard left the Raptors, everybody thought for sure the Raptors were done. They weren't even gonna be in the playoff picture. But Siakam like rose to the challenge, and the Toronto Raptors are one of the tops in the East, which is amazing to see. So I think it's a lot to do with his play and how he's raised his game. So I think he could be growing into one of the top players in the league with the way that his game is growing. But I just wanted to throw that out there. But anyways, coming in at my number 5 is Draymond Green.
He's 5.
Yeah, he's my number 5. I gotta put him in 5, and the reason why I put him at 5 is because he can, at his size, I think he's like 6'7" or 6'8", so he's not really big. He's not super tall, but he's probably one of the best under the basket defenders there is, because he can guard centers as well as power forwards, and he's good enough to even guard a small forward because he has a lot of speed. He uses his body in the right way, so he can guard very well, and he's a very good defender. He's not a great scorer, but he can score when he needs to. He's a good rebounder, a good passer, and he's probably like the firecracker on the team. He's not the reason why they won the championships, but he's a huge part to the puzzle that they had when they won those championships, and that 5 years straight going to the finals. That's an awesome run. And I know they only won 3, but that's still an awesome run. So I gotta give it up to Draymond and everything that he's been doing over there at Golden State.
Yeah, I think Draymond, it's a weird thing because there are those players that become so underappreciated that people begin to notice them, that they become appreciated in their own right.
Yeah.
And I think Draymond is one of those players, and he's gotten the recognition he deserves.
Yeah.
He's gotten a Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he really does deserve a lot of the credit about Golden State winning so much, especially in circumstances like that 2016 Game 5, I think it was, he got suspended.
Yeah.
I think they would have sealed it in that game.
I think so too. I agree with you with that for sure. All right.
But yeah, that's a good number 5. At my number 5, I have Blake Griffin.
Okay.
Uh, Blake Griffin has always been one of those guys that he's just a good player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a power forward, he has gained the ability to dribble the ball and make plays, kind of like a point forward. But even in the beginning parts of his career, when he was more of a actual power forward or a real power forward, he was always the perfect power forward. He would be catching lobs, he would be scoring in the post, shooting some mid-range jumpers, and he's just everything you would ask for from a power forward, I think.
Yeah, and I think with I agree with you in that. With Blake Griffin, it's hard for me because I didn't put him in my top 5, but it's hard for me because of all of his injuries. It's really hindered his career a lot, and I think that's where a lot of the argument might come for positioning in the power forward realm. Although he does belong in the top 10 for sure. I know you have him at 5, but I think you look at where he's been, you look at what he does. I think his game's evolved a lot too, because now in Detroit he's doing a lot more 3-point shooting. So he's playing a lot more outside ball. But I think for me, I think his strength is under the basket. But the way the game is played, you kind of have to evolve, and you really have to work on your shooting nowadays.
And he's one of the few players that's been able to do that pretty well.
Yeah, it amazes me how some of these guys, no matter what, their shooting doesn't really evolve the way it should. But he's one of those that his shooting has evolved greatly, and he's been able to kind of stretch his game out, which is a really good thing. But still have the ability to do the work under the boards. He's a great defender. He can block shots and he can rebound. So he's an all-around really good choice, I think, for you for your number 5. Yeah, it's a good choice. Anything else you want to see about Blake Griffin?
I think one of the other things I wanted to point out was the impact that he's had on those teams. Like, I know that you said the injuries has kind of stopped him from becoming as great as he should be. I think that actually can be played both ways, that argument, because if you look at on the Clippers, every time he got injured or Chris Paul got injured, they kind of got knocked back. But imagine if he was.
Yeah, true. I think coming into the league, there was such great expectations for him, and I think if I'm not mistaken, his rookie year he was injured, so he didn't really play his rookie year. But when he came in the second year, when he got to actually play, technically his rookie year, but not really, he really showed what he was all about. Like his hops, his inside game and everything that he could do. So yeah, that's a good number 5. And my number 4, people are probably gonna kill me for this. But my number 4, you know what? I did it again. My number 4 was Draymond. I think I had Pascal Siakam at 5. Blah. Anyways.
Really?
Yeah. I had Siakam at 5. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I have him at 5. So my Draymond would be my 4. But I did give the argument for Pascal Siakam anyways.
Okay.
Before I went into my top 5 technically, but he was my number 5. So I guess Draymond Green would be my number 4. You already heard my arguments on Draymond Green. I'm not sure what I'm doing every time because I seem to miss my count on my list. But yeah, Draymond would be my number 4.
Okay. That's gonna make this video a lot shorter. Anyways, my number 4 is actually Kevin Love.
Oh, okay.
I think that after playing with LeBron not the past 4 years, but those 4 years in Cleveland, he kind of, since his role got diminished as much as it did, he got the Chris Bosh treatment. I don't think people look at him as much of a superstar as like Dwayne Wade and Kyrie Irving or whatever. But I think he deserves a lot of the recognition that they get as well, because he's a part of that big 3.
Yeah.
Without his spot-up shooting, his post-up playing, his mid-range game, I don't think Cleveland would have won that championship.
Yeah, for sure.
Without his contribution, and especially in those years in Minnesota before he got traded, he was a monster.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch him, but I can just I've seen some clips about him, and I've seen like some stats that he's put up 30, 20 games.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, he's a good player. You know, and like you said, he was on a championship team. He was on a team that went to the playoffs, to the finals 4 years in a row, or was it 4 years in a row?
Yeah.
You know, so he did a lot of work, and he made sure that he made his presence known. I know it was hard for him in Cleveland because, like you said, his role was diminished a little bit, especially, you know, with Kyrie being there, and both Kyrie and LeBron are, you know, LeBron is a leader, a floor general, but he's also a scorer too. And then you have Kyrie, who is a scorer, you know, so it was probably hard for Kevin Love to really find his niche there. But I think now he's back to being the main guy pretty much on the team in Cleveland, or at least the first, second guy if he's not the first, main primary guy.
Yeah, maybe after like Colin Sexton or something.
Yeah, you know, but still he's looked at as probably one of the leaders. I think, like you said, under LeBron, he got an opportunity to learn and grow, to become a champion and a winner. And I think all of that experience he had playing with LeBron, playing with Kyrie, playing together as that team that they had, I think it helped him grow, and it'll help him. They still need some more pieces over there in Cleveland right now, but you're right though. He's a good player. I couldn't put him on my list because my list is just so weird right now. I'm so disappointed in the way I did this. But anyways, there's so many good players, so it's kind of hard, you know. Okay, so my number 3 is Anthony Davis.
Okay, me too.
Yeah, that's my number 3. And, you know, Anthony Davis is arguably the best big man in the league.
Yes. Agreed.
Arguably the best big man in the league. The only reason why I couldn't put him at 2 or 1 is that there's 2 guys that are better, not just at the big man position. They're better in more like other positions. They can play more than just one position. Anthony Davis can play center, but for the most part, he does play the power forward position. The other guys that I have above him can play probably 3 or maybe even 4 positions. So it's just my opinion. Not to say that he's not great, because Anthony Davis is one of the top two-way players, because you know he's a great defender, rebounder, shot blocker, right? And then you know he can put up 25, 30 points a night scoring. And then playing with LeBron, that just makes his game even better, because LeBron is going to look to him to score, right? He's going to feed him the ball, because LeBron is a true point guard. He's going to definitely make sure he gets the ball to the right people all the time, you know? So that's why I got Anthony Davis at number 3.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing I have him at number 3 too, so we can talk about him a little bit more.
Okay.
So, I think Anthony Davis is he's one of those few post-up players that's actually pretty unselfish, which makes him a pretty good teammate for especially guys like LeBron, who are also facilitators, who can also score at their own will. So it kind of makes them a perfect pair. But the reason I have him at number 3 personally is because his career has been kind of short, and his years in New Orleans especially have been kind of underwhelming. Besides that year where they swept the Blazers,
Yeah.
I think that Anthony Davis and those guys could have done a little bit more, but I think what he's been doing now kind of makes up for it. So I had to put him at least this high.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing because he didn't really have a lot of help down there in New Orleans. And when the help was coming, I think he was at the end of his rope. Like, he was kind of mentally done with the team, because the team wasn't. It seemed like the team wasn't doing everything they could to bring in somebody to help him. When Boogie got there, and it's so funny because when Boogie got there, I initially thought that would have been a disaster, him and Boogie together.
Really?
Because they kind of play the same positions, kind of. And I felt like they were going to take a lot of space under the basket, because that's pretty much where Boogie plays, right under the basket. He has a nice mid range. He can shoot from the outside, but his game is around the basket.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where Anthony Davis does. He can slash too, but I felt like they had such a similar game. I felt like it would have been hard, but they actually did all right with them playing together. And when one was out and the other one was in, they actually was able to kind of take the load and do well.
Yeah, which makes sense because they always had to carry kind of their own teams as that position separately. So when you have to deal with one of them switching in and out, that makes it even tougher to have to guard them. So.
Yeah. You know, and like think about it this way. You know, if he had stayed in New Orleans, Julius Randle would have never gone there, right? I think that's what the trade was, right? When he went to LA, I think Julius Randle was part of the trade.
Oh, that was the big trade.
Yeah.
Julius Randle, what was it, Lonzo, Josh Hart. That was that huge trade.
Yeah. But you know, like Drew Holiday was on the rise, I think, as a point guard, and if they could have kept Cousins, if they could have kept Cousins there, or if they could have figured out a way to trade Cousins for something that could help.
Maybe another guard or something who would score on the outside.
You know, it would have been. I think they would have been, because Drew Holiday ain't no joke too. That cat can play, you know, and I think because he's a scorer that actually has very good point guard skills too. I think it's a plus. You know, I think one of the biggest things with some of these guys that we're talking about at the power forward position, especially with Anthony Davis and probably the top two guys that I have, they're, like you said, unselfish and they can pass.
Oh yeah.
That, because for a big guy to be able to be unselfish and pass the ball, because you gotta really know the court and you gotta really know where the guys are gonna be open. To be able to pass the ball the right place, the right time. But yeah, Anthony Davis is really good at passing the ball out to the right people, and I think that's really important too. So, all right. So Anthony Davis is both of our number 3s. My number 2 is gonna be surprising, because he's the reigning MVP.
Okay.
So my number 2 is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And now a lot of people might be like, why would you put him at number 2? He is arguably one of the best defenders in the game. I would have to say he can defend all the positions because he's so long. He's really quick, and then he's got the height, so he can guard any position. And then he can score, right? But the thing I gotta knock, the reason why I got him at 2 is I knock him because he can't shoot the outside shot very well yet. But he's working on it, and you can tell that he's evolving and he's becoming a better shooter from everywhere on the floor.
Yeah.
And that's what's gonna be key to him breaking into some of the top players of all time type of speeches or talks, you know. But that's why I got him at 2. He's such a great player, arguably the best player in the game. I mean, he's the reigning MVP. He probably was gonna be the MVP this season, if not LeBron.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was gonna be between him or LeBron, and I mean, who better to lose to if you're gonna lose to somebody?
Lose to LeBron.
Lose to LeBron, because arguably LeBron could have been the MVP for like 10 years straight, you know. Same thing for Michael Jordan. Back when Michael Jordan was playing, he could have been the MVP for the league for 10 years straight, but he wasn't, you know. But that's why I got, you know, like I look at Giannis and his development and how great he's becoming. He's still lacking some things, I feel, and that's why I can't put him at my number 1. And my number 1, I had to find a spot for him. So I had to.
He was supposed to be on last week.
He was supposed to be on last week.
Yeah, I also have Giannis at 2. Yeah.
I thought you would have had him at 1.
I was going to, but I couldn't because the fact that he is playing very well this season. He has played very well the past 5 seasons, I think it is, where the Bucks have been making it into the playoffs. But that's exactly the reason why I think it's not very. He hasn't even entered his prime yet. So once he gets there, because he's only like 26.
Yeah.
So maybe next year, or maybe after next year, yeah, probably. I think it'll be his time to be number one. But like, even in this short time, kind of, I think he deserves to be number two though, because of how he's been leading the Bucks into the playoffs and kind of leading them into war, bringing them the number one seed in the East. Almost, they could have won 70 games this season if he didn't get injured in those last few games. But yeah, I think Giannis is at number two for me too.
Well, you know, and I noticed the thing I like about Giannis is his drive, and to be honest with you, if you look at his drive, it mirrors the same type of drive Michael Jordan had and the same type of drive that Kobe had. And I'm not comparing him to Michael and Kobe. I'm comparing his drive, his desire to become the best player in the league. And you can see it because every single year he's gotten better. Every year he's gotten better. And you can tell that his leadership skills are evolving because he shows everybody what he wants from them. So he's being a good leader. That's kind of like what Jordan was. Jordan showed them what to do, and then they were able to follow him. And then when it was time, he could give the ball to somebody else, trusting that they were going to do the job. And I think what Giannis is doing maps or mirrors what Michael was doing at the Bulls, mirrors what Kobe was doing with the Lakers, kind of showing the guys what they need to do if they want to get to the next level as a team, right? I think that's one thing too. He needs to remember now, like it is a team thing now, because it's not just him. He can score 80 points. If they don't win the game, it doesn't matter. Right?
Oh, but Giannis is definitely a facilitator. Yeah. So he's getting his guys involved, which makes him even better as a player, and which will make him even better in the future.
Yeah.
And he's amazing.
Yeah. So my number one, as we were talking about earlier, is Kevin Durant. Now people might argue that he is a 3. They do list him as a power forward, as a 4 this year. He can play multiple positions. He can play the 4, the 5, the 3. He could even play the 2 if they wanted to, depending on the size of the rest of the team and what they want from him. He's that good. He's a great ball handler, good facilitator, great teammate, great defender. And he's arguably one of the best scorers in the game.
Of course, yeah.
Not shooters though, and I'm not gonna say shooter because we know the best shooters are probably gonna be Clay or Steph when we call best shooter.
Yeah.
Right. But we're talking best scorer is like from anywhere on the floor, he can get a bucket. He can get points. Whether it's driving to the basket, whether it's a pull-up, whether it's a three-pointer, whether it's a fadeaway, whether it's a bank shot, whether it's a mid-range.
Even a post-up hook shot or something.
Yeah.
He can get those too.
And he can score on anybody at any time, whenever he wants. The thing about Kevin Durant, though, you'll notice that he will give up the ball if he knows that there's somebody else open. If there's somebody else with a better shot, he's going to give up the ball. And that's what I love about a player like Kevin Durant. He's going to overtake LeBron James as the greatest player in the league. Giannis is close on Kevin Durant's tail though, but Kevin Durant is going to be considered the greatest player in the leagues in a next year, maybe the year after, or even maybe right now. Some people might consider him the best player in the league. But because of all of his skills, he has the championships to show. Yeah, people might say, oh, you know what, he went to Golden State. If he never go to Golden State, he wouldn't have got the championships, blah, 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 blah. You know, you can say that all you like. I'm going to totally disagree with that because Larry Bird had Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish with him on the front, in the front court to help him do what he did up in Boston. Magic Johnson had James Worthy and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You know what I mean? You look at LeBron James. LeBron James went to Miami to join Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, which is actually planned beforehand for them to go there. So, for anybody to say that what Kevin Durant did was soft or was sad or whatever the case may be, I think it's ludicrous for anybody to even think that, because everybody has done that in the past. And I think it was a good decision for him to go over there because he actually proved himself there. I feel like he proved himself there.
Okay. So before I tell my number one,
Okay.
I want to say that a big part for me in making this list was the kind of the length of their career and what they accomplished.
Okay.
My guy has 3 championships and a Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
And has been the leader of a very strong team throughout the past couple years. And it's Draymond Green.
At number one.
At number one.
Wow.
Like I said earlier, I think Giannis and Anthony Davis actually both could be 1 and 2 if they had achieved more for Anthony Davis.
Okay.
In my opinion, if he had achieved more, he deserves it. Or if Giannis had played, for some reason in this list, the length of his career kind of gets to me. Even though it's 7 years, it's a pretty good amount. I think Draymond Green kind of takes it for me as just being the good overall player, the good leader that he is. Like we were saying earlier, he's a guy that can pass at that position. We were talking about how important that is, and I think he just deserves to be my number one, in my opinion.
Draymond, he was probably the heart and soul of that team, right?
Yeah.
Like, if he's hyped, everybody's hyped. He was like there. If you think about it, the guy I'm gonna say right now doesn't like this comparison, but he was like the Dennis Rodman of the Golden State team, and Dennis Rodman hates the fact that people say that, because Dennis Rodman will be like, if Draymond went up against me, he wouldn't get 1 rebound. If Dennis Rodman went up, if Draymond went against me, you wouldn't even see him. Like, that's Dennis Rodman's opinion of how he played, the way he played. Now I know a lot of these guys. It's so hard to compare these guys, because when you look at eras and when they played, but Dennis Rodman played in an era where, you know, the title power forward, like power forward. When we talk about power forward, initially the power forward guy would be considered like the man the enforcer. Like that's what the power forward essentially really is, or is supposed to be. And nowadays the power forward has evolved into a different thing, because they're not necessarily the enforcer. But Draymond has that.
Yeah.
He has the ability to be the enforcer. He stands up for everybody. He's willing to get into the face of any other player from the other. And I think the thing I like about him too is like he'll get in even to the face of his own teammates when he feels like they're not doing what they're supposed to do, which is a good. I think it's a good thing. Or it can be good, and I think it can be good and bad, because it can motivate. It can either motivate or it can piss people off, right?
Yeah.
But either way, I think that can be a good thing, though. So, but, I mean, like I said, it makes sense. He has the resume to prove it too, right? He doesn't just boast. I can block shots. I can rebound. I can facilitate. He doesn't just boast. Oh, I can score. He's on a team that actually got the job done.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said earlier, he was a big part in them getting to where they got. And I think that's what's pretty interesting about the Golden State Warriors. How they just basically built their team with draft picks and kept the draft picks, and the draft picks developed and they became the players that they are now. Over time, they didn't go trade people away trying to just make the team better. They worked with the players and they evolved, found the system that worked. I know Mark Jackson had a big part in them getting to where they were right before they actually went over the hump and won the first championship where Steve Kerr came in. And a lot of people think that it was because of Mark Jackson, which, you know, I give him credit because he was able to put the team together and coach the team the way they needed to be coached. Steve Kerr just came at the right time and kind of, I think he brought something to the team that they were missing. And I think the thing that he brought was he brought a winning championship attitude. But I hope you enjoyed this top 5 power forwards. If you don't agree with us, I'm sure there's probably tons of you that don't. But like we said earlier, it is our opinion on what we see and what we feel.
Give us some comments on what you think about what we said. You know, give us your top 5 in the comments and just kind of talk about with us what you think of what we say in these videos.
Exactly.
I think it'll be kind of fun to.
I would love some feedback on how we're doing, and I know some of the comments might hurt, but you know, that's how you grow and that's how you learn, right? So we're looking forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video.
See you next time. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video with a friend. Thank you very much.